Hey friends, you ever think about how hard it is to make real friends as an adult? Like the kind of friends who just get you, who see you and who can hold you down and remind you that you're never alone in this world. Well, today I'm sitting down with two of my best friends to talk about how we found each other, how we built our friendship, and what it really means to create our own tribe, especially as Black queer men in spaces that weren't made for us. Let's get into it.
Ay, black, queer, unapologetic. Black, queer, unapologetic. I know who I am, now you know what I'm about. I say the thoughts in my head out loud. Let's get into it, let's pick up the flow though. Brought to you by the one they call JoJo. Black, queer, unapologetic. Black, queer, unapologetic. Let's go.
So I have my friends here with me that I love to death. I have my friend Nizer and Jamal.
Bye.
I've been wanting to do this one for a while because I love you guys so much. And I think that it's hard sometimes to find friends that you really connect with, let alone like if you're Black, finding other Black people that you connect with in a local space. So I just wanted to get us on to talk together and how we met and kind of what that experience is like. And unfortunately, I got two people from Pittsburgh area that I met at different times.
Right. What are the yellow?
Well, I don't know nothing about Pittsburgh because I've never been to Pennsylvania. I know you guys are from similar areas, and I don't know what it's like there. So if you guys want to walk me through that, what it's like growing up there, what it's like making friends there as an adult, or maybe you had childhood friends that you like kind of grew up with and maintain contact with.
Sure. I'll jump in. So I grew up outside of Pittsburgh and a little further outside of Pittsburgh than Jamal. And where I grew up it was a predominantly white town. I spoke a little bit earlier. I don't know if anybody remembers me, but I'm Christopher Nizer. I spoke on one of the podcasts earlier this season. So some of you may have heard. Oh, she's famous. Some of you may have heard my story a little bit, but I'll just be brief with mine. Where I grew up was kind of a predominantly white area in town. I grew up around Black people for sure. I had Black people in my high school, but we were definitely a strong minority. In my neighborhood where I grew up, my part of the town, there were a good amount of Black people. So from a young age, I had a lot of Black friends, and even cousins and stuff that lived close by. So kind of grew up with that. Getting into like middle school and high school, it became a little bit more kind of white dominant. And so I made a lot of friends there as well. It's something to get into a little later, but in the podcast, I'm sure. But there were times where I was trying to fit in where I could, and trying to make friends is hard in general. I have an older brother who, when I was really young, I didn't have a lot of friends. I was kind of the annoying kid brother in my eyes. So
My sister
I was always like, and so I would always try to hang out with he and his friends. And my brother did have a lot of Black friends, more so than I did, just because they had a really good group when he was young. And I was always trying to become a part of that, but I was the annoying kid brother, so I just kind of got kicked out of that. Anyway, left to my own devices to make friends, there were times where I did kind of fall into more white groups. And of course, there was like this imposter syndrome, like when I was with actually both groups, to be honest with you. So, it took me a while to be able to find Black friends. And don't get me wrong, like all my Black friends from like high school and like growing up, they're all amazing. Like none of them like ever shunned me away, but it was the feeling that I had inside sometimes. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, growing up, it was pretty similar as well. My high school, well, like middle school, high school area, it was kind of a mix, 50-50 Black and white. Growing up, I did have a lot more white friends, and it did feel a little weird trying to fit in and stuff. I made the effort to try to branch out and everything, but I guess it just didn't work out in that way. And then after middle and high school, I went to college and was able to make a lot more Black friends and find my people.
Did you go to
Yeah.
college in Pittsburgh or somewhere else?
I went to Pitt and I started a branch campus and then moved after 2 years back home to Pittsburgh. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, I grew up in the Bay, so it was very different back in the 90s. Very different than it is now. The schools that I went to were super diverse. But then when all the childhood friends that I had up through middle school and high school, it was super diverse. We had like a lot of Filipinos, a lot of Latinos, and a lot of Black people. But then I went to the military. I didn't really have to make friends because you're around the same people all the time. So like the people that you work with are your friends because you see and live with them, see them and live with them and work with them every day. So that was a little bit weird because then I left and then I came back to the Bay. And when I came back, it felt very different. Like that was when during the tech boom and like all these big tech companies were coming in and they were hiring people from other states and like flying them in and like kind of building up these businesses and things like that. And there was like a lot of gentrification. And so people kind of got pushed out a little bit. So I don't know.
That's interesting. I kind of envy you that you were able to grow up in a very diverse area, maybe more so than the two of us. And going into what you talked about coming back to the Bay Area and during the time of gentrification, it's really interesting. And I think maybe Jamal, you'll feel this way too, because I moved here at the same time that you're talking about, like when you came back, right? When the tech boom was happening, a lot of my white friends were moving here as well for that reason, working with big tech companies. And so I saw that gentrification. From my previous podcast with you, I mentioned that I went to Peru for almost 3 years. And before that, I came to San Francisco, no joke, like maybe a month and a half before I moved to Peru. And at that moment, I knew that I wanted to move to San Francisco, but it was just before the tech boom. And so I saw at San Francisco that I was like, oh, this place is great. Like, there's so much culture here. Like, there's diversity. And then, like, it kind of changed after those, like, 3 years. I was like, oh, this is different because of our gentrification. But to that point, Pittsburgh has also been gentrified. And so hearing the two words, one with like a little bit of like a negative connotation here in the Bay Area, and then for Pittsburgh, because it was such an industrial town, and the changes that have been made there, like obviously the steel industry just isn't there the way it used to be, but it wasn't a bad thing. Like I think a lot of the changes I see when I go home and in Pittsburgh, actually good stuff, like great restaurants and great bars and it's very different than the gentrification that was just like, no one wants this here in San Francisco. So, they wanted to bring.
And so, yeah, Pittsburgh is definitely very different than when I lived there or like growing up there. And I definitely was able to really see a lot of the change. After high school, we moved from the suburb area to more the downtown area. So I was able to really see that area like changing and getting built up and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, with the tech, I mean, obviously all the technology companies and the salaries go up and then the rent goes up and then the price of housing goes up and everything else goes up. And then they were hiring a lot of Black people to work in those companies at the time. Either when I got out of the military, I went to go work for a bunch of startups and I was lucky to get those jobs, but I really leaned into my veteran status to get those jobs in order to kind of compete with being able to stay there. But I just kind of noticed that there was a lack of inclusivity for a lot of stuff. And Jamal, you haven't seen this side of me yet, unfortunately. But we had our little reunion. We have this little group that Chris and Tony and Marissa and all of it, and Leo, you and Leo, just, yeah, that's the news. But we had our little reunion thing, and then we left Swagger that was at El Rio in San Francisco that plays like amazing music, primarily POC party. And then we went next door. I forget what that bar is called, neither.
Mother
Load?
something like that. Mother Load.
Yeah, something like that.
Like,
but we went there, and then they were only playing Bay Area music, so it was like all just like Bay Area hip hop from when I grew up, from like high school till early adulthood. And a lot of people don't realize that the Bay Area had its own culture back then. Like we had our own music, we had our own dances, all that stuff. And now nobody even knows anything about that stuff because they either didn't live here when it was going on, or they never just took the opportunity to learn about it. And when they were playing all of that music, I kind of lost my shit and was hitting every move and every dance. Tony looked at me and was like, I did not know that you. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't get to experience that anymore. So anytime that happens, that side of me just comes up.
how hyphy of you.
Shut the fuck up.
Love it.
Yeah. So why did y'all come to California? Like, did you guys visit beforehand? I know Nizer was like a lot with work and whatnot, but Jamal, like, what did you visit beforehand?
So my partner had lived here way before we had got together. And so like after a few years being together, we took a trip out here to San Francisco. So met up with some of his friends, went to visit his grandfather, and I really liked the area. We went back home, kind of discussed, moving somewhere outside of Pittsburgh. And he had suggested California.
Ought to.
Well, it wasn't on my radar at first. I was still trying to do something more East Coast, maybe like Philly or something like that. But I liked the idea of moving to California after visiting, and I was like, let's do it. So we just kind of picked up and moved out here. We had never been to Sacramento before moving.
Oh,
Exactly. We had planned to make a trip to look at apartments, but we decided to just say fuck it, and we booked an apartment online. We signed a 9-month lease, and we're just like, if we don't like it, we'll just stick it out for 9 months and find something else. But we just picked up and moved, and it just kind of worked out.
okay. What was the experience like moving from Pittsburgh to Sacramento? Because I know you mentioned checking out San Francisco, but
Yeah,
I feel like San Francisco and Sacramento are very different.
they are.
But what was it like coming to Sacramento, and how did you navigate that?
I always like exploring new places and cities and stuff, so I was having a great time just trying to figure things out and where places to go, trying to meet people and stuff like that. So I had a good time with our move.
Okay. You two are a lot more social than me. I feel like I kind of keep to myself. I'm like, if I make a friend, great.
Yeah.
If I don't, I just don't go out of my way to make friends. Or like, I don't know, I just don't know. I can be a little introverted, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna stay home,
Yeah,
and
that's why we got to get you out of the house.
Right. We get
Yeah.
together.
Well, I like doing stuff, but most of the time it's like I got to get on a plane to go somewhere for me to want to do it. Versus, I'm like, I already been to that place that X amount of times. Like, I don't want to go anymore, or I need a break.
Yeah.
It is what it is. When y'all moved, did you feel like? Because I felt like when I got out of the military and I came back to the Bay, I felt like it was hard for me to make friends as an adult. So when you guys moved, Nizer, you to San Francisco, and Jamal, when you came to Sacramento, was it hard to make friends, like real people that you can like hang out with? And like, I guess this time I'm defining like a friend is like people that you kind of hang out with on a regular basis versus people that you know and you kind of can hang out from time to time.
Yeah, I found it very difficult. I moved here to the Bay at 29 years old, so it's still fairly young. I think it's definitely harder now as I'm older, but just in general, the older you get, it does make it a little harder because you're learning more about yourself, and life is just getting real. You're realizing you're not a kid anymore. You can do just whatever and meet people and live carefree. It was tough. I had a few friends it took a little bit of stress off of meeting people and making friends because I kind of inherited some friends. But as I said in the previous podcast, love those people. They're so good. It's not that they're not my friends, but I also was just kind of missing my actual group that I was making connection with on a one-on-one basis, not with a middleman. And as I said before, that's when I met you, like 17, and our other friends, Tony, Leo, Marissa, like all people of color, and was able to kind of meet you all on my own terms, through obviously great outlets, whether it was, an ex-boyfriend who I met one of them through, and kickball, who I met some of you other through, and a roommate who I met you through. I was able to make friends on my own and make the type of friends that I think I was always looking for here. And not that I was looking for it, because the other friends I have, I was happy to have them as friends and am happy to have them as friends. But I think you guys were the friends that I needed. I needed more people who identified the way that I did, or similarly to me. I needed people who kind of walked in my shoes a little bit more than some of my other friends. So yeah, I think it was hard. It took me 3 years to find you guys. 3 years of being in San Francisco, 2014 to 2017. I'm sorry, I moved here in 2013. So yeah, it took me 2013 to 2017 to find you guys. And I'm really happy that I did, because I'm still friends with, very good friends with all of you.
Yeah, same. What about you, Jamal?
It was kind of the opposite. I found it pretty easy to make friends in Sacramento. My partner and I, we moved here, we literally didn't know anyone at all. So I signed up, made an account on meetup.com, and just started finding gay groups.
Yeah.
One of the first ones I joined was a gay brunch group. And then that's also how I found kickball. I joined kickball as a way to really try to find people and make friends and stuff. And that's pretty much how I've made majority of my friends, is some connection of kickball. Yeah.
I mean,
I was really blending the world together. I will never play again. I'm grateful for the friends I made.
Okay, so Jamal, I don't know if you know this story, and I'm just gonna say what I'm gonna say, because I probably will never play kickball San Francisco ever again, anyways. But so I don't know how it is now, but what year was that? It had to be 2017. Okay, so it was like when I was going through my breakup and stuff, and I was playing in the softball league. And I don't know, like, I felt like I just needed to make new friends. Like, I felt like, the people that I knew were not doing it for me. I felt like a lot of the stuff that they were about just didn't really resonate with me. They would say a lot of racial jokes or make jokes about like racial preferences and skin color and things like that. And I'm just like, this is not cool with me. It was also like a little bit triggering, because when I grew up, and I had to play baseball from like age 4 until 19 years old. And baseball is not predominantly, or at least back then, it was like the people who played that sport were mostly white. So being in a sport that I love, and then being around people who like say stupid shit like that, really got under my skin. And there were some cool people too. Everybody wasn't like that, but it was kind of hard for me to fully enjoy the experience, especially when some of those people ended up on your team or were on teams that you would coach. So I go through the breakup. I became a really big pothead. I was high all the time.
All the time.
So
always high.
I just said that. Shut up.
Oh, I just want to make sure people in the back heard it.
Yeah, it's just going through some stuff. But then I signed up, and I think I signed up as like a free agent. And somehow I ended up on Tony's team, and Tony was the captain for that season. And I don't know how, but it just felt like that all the black people were on one team.
We were. All the people of color. There was one team that was, I think we had one white guy, like Phil. And all of us were played from the same team.
Yeah, I was like, this is a little strange. Like, I showed up and I was like, one of these teams is not like the others. And So I was like, okay. And I'm just like rolling with it and, stoned out of my mind. And then, Leo would offer me a little swig of something every now and then. And like, I don't know, I want to say like the second week, I leaned into it because I was like, oh, this is actually really great because I haven't had an opportunity to connect with as many people of color at one time. And then all of a sudden it just stuck. Like all of a sudden, like we were hanging out every weekend. It didn't matter whether the season was on or not. I wouldn't leave. Like kickball and softball overlapped, I think, because I started playing at the end of the year and softball starts in the spring. So that next season, I would go to my softball games, leave my softball games, and instead of going to the fundraisers and stuff, go hang out with them to go to Swagger at El Rio instead of going to the Castro and hang out with the softball people. And I don't know, it just stuck. Like I was really thankful and glad to have met 5 people that connected with me, on top of the fact that I was going through some shit at the time and I was not showing up as my best self. I was a little bit of a hot, tragic, wretched mess. Yeah. So
No, for real. Jamal, have you ever been to Swagger? I can't remember.
No, I haven't been to Swagger.
they don't do it anymore.
I know. Can we do like a 3-second moment of silence for Swagger? Rest in peace, girl.
Rest in peace, Swagger.
Rest in power, girl.
And then I moved to Sacramento
Yeah.
and I met this person named Jamal. And I thought this bitch hated me. I was like, I don't know. I met another black person and I want them to like me so bad. I don't know. I was trying really hard to be over.
I know you tell me that was your impression, your first impression of me all the time. And I'm just like, I wasn't actively trying to push you out or anything like that, or act like I didn't like you. I just have, I need some time to assess the situation, see if I want to associate myself with you or not. And then, I took my time and I was like, okay, he seems cool. We could be friends.
I'll let him be friends with me.
I had saw you before we met. Like, so this is all through kickball. So anybody listening to this, like kickball, I mean, not even just kickball, but like gay sports leagues are a really good way to meet people. It doesn't matter whether you're athletic or not. There's different skill levels on different teams and things like that. So it's a really good way to meet people. So if you live in a major city, there's probably something, tennis, softball, kickball, dodgeball, something, volleyball, whatever it is. Anyway, no, like when I saw you the season before, so it was like a COVID season when I moved up here with December of 2020. And then I think it started in like April of like 2021 or something like that. And it was that season where we had to wear masks and you were playing shortstop for some team. And I was like, oh, he's really good. And I was like, who is that? And then when I saw that you were going to be on our team, like 2 seasons later, I was like, oh yeah, like, let me talk to this person and
Now get saying,
no, but I was just excited because I hadn't been able to connect with another black person like on a deep level. Like I had my boys in the Bay, but I didn't have anybody here that I was connecting with all the time. And I was like, I wonder if like this could be that. And it's no guarantee, but like it didn't hurt to try because you never did anything that made me think like, oh, like he's an asshole or like we're not going to be friends or we're not going to be cool or anything like that. So I was like, let me try. And then I was like, oh, I got to try harder because there's a wall.
Well, you know what's so funny about that too, JoJo, is I remember, our Bay Area group of friends, you and our friend Leo, who we've talked about a couple times now, who's a Latino gay man. The two of you both left in 2020. Like the world shut down and Leo moved to Houston for school. You moved to Sacramento, bought your gorgeous home. The rest of us were here. So we were able to do the park meetups and sit 6 to 8 feet away from each other and just kind of check in with each other. I think we all did these Zoom calls to stay together, right? Kind of like we're doing right now. And we all just worried about, our Leo and our JoJo who were now in different places. So for me, coming to Sacramento and meeting people like Jamal and some of your other friends there, like it was really comforting to know that you had found good people than like the rest of our group was here, and like we're worried about each other in general if they're like able to find what we had here because we all hold that so special. So it was really great to like meet Jamal. Like, I mean, also he's from Pittsburgh, so immediately we were like, oh my god,
okay.
we were like, what?
When I found out that y'all were from like a close enough like area, I'm like, here we go. This can't happen.
Yeah, Jamal and I, when we get together, we take secret Pittsburgh shots.
They're doing
Just the two of us.
secret Pittsburgh things and sending secret Pittsburgh emails.
I love it. It was the same thing for Leo. Like I went to visit him in Houston in like 2022, and and Leo's our baby, right? He's the youngest in our group, and I'm the oldest in the group. So for me, it was very much like proud father. Saw him and his friends and how diverse they were and how they took care of each other. It's a good feeling when you see your friends make good friends. To the viewers, Jamal and I are really good friends. And Jojo shaking his head right now because he needs their friendship.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's all because I did this.
And we did.
It was important for me for my friends to know each other. And Jamal, it was this. They came up here before I formally met you. Like I knew who you were, but like I think with Marissa, Tony, all of them actually, except for Leah, Marissa, Tony, and Chris came up, and it was like smack dab in the middle of a fucking Sacramento summer. It was like 115 degrees or some shit outside.
How y'all live like that?
Yeah.
Inside.
Inside.
You're not in DC.
Well, we wasn't that day and walking around, and I saw you on the street. You're like doing something else. We hadn't met yet, so I didn't even like talk to you or whatever. But I knew who you were, and they had came up and met, and I introduced them to Miggs and James and everybody, at that point. And I think even Fernando that weekend. But I don't think you really like. I don't remember the first time y'all met each other. I just, for some reason, that like escapes me. I just remember the first time they came up and they met some of the SAC people. Y'all met like maybe it was my birthday or something, or maybe it was after that because the season didn't start.
I think
until
Jamal remembers.
So we met in 2021, you and I, and then to the following year is when we like really started to get close and stuff. And I believe I met them, I think Palm Springs. No, I don't think we went.
I think that's too late. No, you didn't go in 2021. Yeah. I'm gonna tell this story real quick though, because that was when I was like, okay, we really gonna be cool. Because I met you in September of 2021.
Yeah,
and I went to Palm Springs Pride, and I had only known you for like 2 months. Palm Springs Pride is in November.
Yeah,
and then you saw the pictures. You're like, I'm going.
Like, yeah, I invited myself.
Next year.
Wow. Look at Jojo and his friends. That look fun. I went to places.
So like November, I came back, and we had like our kickball playoffs and all of that stuff. And I got back. I think it was the same day that I came back. Oh, Palm Springs Pride looks fun. I'm going. We got booked it. And we normally book it in like April or May. Yeah. But I can't remember when you guys formally met each other. I know it might have been like early 2022 because I feel like it was before. I don't think it was like way late in the year the next year.
Yeah, I think it was my birthday. We came up for my birthday.
You know what? That's right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. We went to Brad's and we went to the Merc.
As we do in Sacramento.
Yeah. Okay, now the pictures are popping in my head because we have a bunch of pictures from that day.
Oh, and who was that boy that was checking for me in that photo?
And what? Where?
Oh, man. Remember the photo when we went to Tower City? Oh, maybe that was your birthday.
The Tower Cafe for brunch?
Yes.
Yeah. Someone commented on my post, was like, tell him in the green or whatever color you were, tell him to call me.
Yeah. Yeah, we know who it is. I don't know if I should say his name or not.
No, don't say it.
Oh my God. No, but it was really important for me, just like for my friends to get to know each other. Because I felt like before I felt it before y'all said it, but like, okay, like, is he good? Like, has he made friends with it? That kind of thing. And I was like, they should probably meet the people that I'm like kind of hanging out with. Also, I want my friends to like each other.
Yeah.
It's like we going on trips and shit, and I like to go on my trips and stuff.
Mhm.
And it's like we can't be
Right.
getting along, especially after Jamal, you like, oh, I'm coming to Palm Springs. I'm like, well, you got to meet these hoes because
Right.
if this is not working, then it's probably not gonna work. But it worked out great.
Yeah,
Right.
it did.
I think what's also nice about our group of friends is that like you talked about the travel, even though like we come from different walks of life, except for Jamal and I, and we've met in different ways. Like we do travel well together, and I think it's important because like a lot of times, you know, we've done a lot of things together. We've gone to like block rides together. We've done different like the POC events, swagger, things like that, and those are really great spaces to be in. They're very comfortable. But a lot of what we've done have not been very black spaces or POC spaces. And so it's been really nice to be able to enter those spaces together and have support from other people, our friends, but also just people who identify the way that we do in these spaces where we might not see a lot of that. Be able to like to go into these spaces where, especially, nowadays, with all the confidence in the world that you can have, it's still really scary to be in certain areas and be in certain places and feel safe.
Yeah,
So,
I think
bring some numbers.
so. When we went to, I don't know, Jamal, if I told you the story, but so that Palm Springs Pride that you didn't come to, that first one when I had met you, and Nazar, you weren't around. I don't know where you were. You were like in the bathroom or talking to somebody or something, but it was like towards later in the night, and I was with Tony and Chris at what's it called, Hunters.
Okay.
And there was like this group of white gays that were just kind of like hanging around, and we were just hanging around. And then the lights came on because it was closing time. And this bitch said, "Oh, that's what y'all look like."
No.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking like, okay. So when I was talking about like, people when I was playing softball or things like people would say stupid shit like that and think that shit was funny. I don't find that stuff funny. I feel like there's a line that gets crossed somewhere. And it was a group of just white gays that you probably just see walking down the street, whatever. Just like they didn't look like any kind of way that I would think like that they would say anything like that. They didn't seem bitchy or mean or anything like that. It was just random. We weren't even talking to them. They just said it, or one of them said it in the group. Nobody corrected them.
Yeah.
So I was the one back in the day with the big mouth and the one that would flip out and all of that stuff. But I was growing.
Back in the day.
Shut up.
I was gonna say that too.
I'm calmer down. But what happened is Tony and Chris just had enough because this was like right when the pandemic and things were opening back up. So that was like the only Pride in California that year, and we were just getting adjusted and to being like, in club settings and things like that. And they just didn't want to deal with it. And I'm just like, no, I'm gonna say something, but I'm also not gonna blow up like I normally would. So I went over to him and like just checked him, and he started crying. And I checked him like respectfully. I didn't yell, and I was like, look, like that's not okay. I explained why it wasn't okay. And I'm like, do you get what I'm saying to you? And I was very stern with my tone when I was talking to him. He started crying. Then his boyfriend comes over and it's like, why'd you make my boyfriend cry? I'm like, well, your boyfriend said, and and so I'm letting him know, like, that's not okay. And I don't care if he's crying.
Yeah.
There's no need for that.
No.
No.
So I don't know. I feel like safe spaces, like, I mean, some people might listen to this and they like, oh, well, if you make friends that are gay, like, why do you need to have black friends or why do you need to have Latino friends? Why do you need to? Because people get comfortable and say shit like that. That's not okay. And I don't think that, like, if I was by myself or if I was in that group of friends, I would have felt very alienated in that moment. And it sucks. It doesn't feel good. And sometimes, and then you cry. Like, why are you crying? You take ownership of what the fuck you said.
Exactly.
Really.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I think some like marginalized groups in general, and I don't want to just pigeonhole like specifically non-POC gays, but I think we have a better understanding of it. I think they allow their marginalization to kind of trump things like that, like saying things like that. Or, well, I'm also a minority, so like we're in this together. It doesn't matter. You're not my minority.
Yeah.
Yes, you are a minority. Why would you say something to demean another minority? Like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make it okay. But I think a lot of times people have that mindset that like, oh, it's okay. I can say that I'm gay. But it's not okay to say, I'm going to say it, racist comment because you're gay, right?
Yeah, I mean, it sucked, but I didn't. Funny and Chris were surprised I didn't just like completely explode. I'm like, no, like I've had time to cool off during quarantine and all that.
Yeah. Really.
I do want to talk about first impressions and like why do you think this works? Because like Jamal, obviously my first impression of you was wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm like you don't like me, like, okay, what do I need to do to be this man's friend? Nizer, I think me and you were a little bit different because it kind of led up, like I met you through somebody else and we were not friends yet, but we would just see each other in passing a lot. I'm curious, what was your first impressions of me?
I'll just say, again, like you said, it is a little different because my roommate was on your softball team.
Yeah.
And so you guys had a friendship, and I obviously had a friendship with him. And I remember being interested in joining the gay basketball league in San Francisco. Ultimately, it didn't work out because of my work schedule, but our mutual friend, Eric, said, oh, you should talk to my teammate, Jojo. He's on that team. And so that's how we kind of initially talked, had a conversation. Would go to your softball game, to root on my roommate and things like that. And my first impression of you was there are two people on the team with badasses. And, and it was you, and you know who the other one was. And so, yeah, I was like, there's Jojo with the big booty. We're also like, the times that we did talk, and I remember one time, like literally on the street in the Castro, Eric and I were together and we ran into you, and she was like, oh, this is Jojo, I want you to talk to him about basketball. And you were like totally open to talk to me about it and like give me suggestions and all the information. So it was, my first impression was that you were really nice, really helpful, and like willing to help someone out. Whether it's because I was Black or not, like I didn't know that about you yet, but like you didn't have any qualms about just being like, yeah, let me know what you need.
Not really. I don't really remember my first impression. I mean, we also met sports related. We were playing kickball on the same team. Like watching you play, I was really impressed. So I was like, okay, all right, here's this. But like I said earlier, I was like, I need to, see how his personality is if I actually want to try to make friends with him. And then we went out to brunch and stuff after some of the games. I was like, oh, he's kind of fun too. And he's funny. I'm like, okay, maybe we could be friends.
Maybe.
Jamal, he put you through a whole interview that you didn't even know about.
Exactly.
No, I felt like I was auditioning. Like, I'm like, we are going to be friends. I'm going to get the role of the friend, but I just need to figure out, like, what I need to do here for you to get comfortable because I get, there are people who are drunk messes.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I just didn't want you to think that I was that kind of person because I'm not. I will talk mess to your face because I care about you. But, like, I don't know. I just, yeah. Do you think that our experiences might be different if we didn't meet each other, like for us, like travel and things like that? Because I mean, Jamal, I know you and I have gone on a couple of trips together where it's just been the two of us, but I also know that you're not afraid to go anywhere by yourself. Like you're a really independent person.
Yeah, I think our difference is, I think not meeting each other would be different for me. I only say that because I was at a point in my life where I was really looking for connection with people who had similar intersecting identities as myself. And like I said, as much as I care for the people who I was friends with prior to that, there was a disconnect. There was a really big disconnect. And it was really important for me at that time to connect with you, JoJo, and with our other friends in order to feel safe, in order to be myself fully, in order to express certain parts of those intersecting identities that I wasn't able to express fully, or if I did express them, I didn't feel understood. So yeah, it was, I think my life would have been really different if I didn't meet you guys when I did. And I've always said this, I played in that kickball league for a couple seasons, and it wasn't because I liked kickball or even the league. It was to meet, the 1, 2, 3, 4 of you. And I'm so grateful for that, because Lydia was at my house 2 weekends ago, visiting from Houston. I saw Chris last weekend at a concert. Tony was supposed to be there, but couldn't make it. And you and I talk 3 times a week.
Yeah, I enjoy our conversations on the phone.
Me too. We talk too long sometimes, so we should go to bed.
I be doing stuff in the background. I'm like, we've been on the phone for 2 hours. I'm just like,
I'm usually eating, kind of like I am right now.
yeah, she's snacking on something. So I think we're getting towards the end here. And I want to kind of talk about, like, what do you look for in your friendships? It doesn't matter whether they're POC or not, but like, Jamal, I know you were talking about like how you were trying to make sure that, like, I was a good person before you kind of leaned in and tried to build a friendship with me. And then Nizer, we've met some people in the SF kickball league that were not that great, to say the least, back in the day. So, a lot of talking shit, making up stuff, lying about stuff, that kind of thing. People that you probably, you know exactly what I mean. But I'm curious, like, what kind of traits do you look for in the people that you meet? And do you think that being a Black person plays a factor in any of those things that people, or how people present themselves, that makes you want to be their friend or not want to be their friend?
Yeah, so I definitely look for, well, like you touched on a little bit before, I'm not looking for anyone bitchy or catty or anything, so I didn't want any drama. I'm a very drama-free person. I don't mind watching it play out, though. Not being involved.
Right.
So, like, I look for people that are kind of like myself, likes to go out, enjoys to have a drink here and there, some brunch, and just overall, like, likes to travel, just overall a kind and understanding person. I think I put more effort into it because you were Black, and I was trying to make more Black friends here. I didn't really have like any really close connections with other Black people in SAC, although like, I had friends in passing or like friends at kickball, but nothing solid. So I definitely put a little bit more effort into trying to be friends with you.
Yeah.
Without reason.
I appreciate it. I really do. Because I'm like, I cannot be the only one here.
I know.
And you were fun. I mean, you get me out of my shell, which is nice. That's what about you. Oh, it is? Yeah, well, sometimes I like to be at home. So
Yeah.
I'm at home, then I'm comfortable.
Well, Jamal can get anybody out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, no, you're built that way for sure.
Thank you.
You really are. And it's so good because I just want to say this about Jamal. Like, he's such a caring person. As much as he, like, is the life of the party, he also, like, really genuinely cares about people and, like, wants to make sure everybody's okay. And Jamal and I have had moments where we're like, all right, we're going to figure out our check-in situation, and we're going to, every hour on the hour, we're going to meet at this spot, we're going to, and like, that's just who he is. And it's been so great to know you the last, 3 or so years and travel with you and have a lot of fun with you. I think to answer your question, JoJo, what I look for now in friendships are, I'm older than both of you, a little older than both of you. And I've been through some shit, right? And like, I've made a lot of really amazing friends. So I'm not really pressed on making friends right now because I have a really great set of friends. But when it comes to making friends, I'm looking for people who are kind, people who are loyal, obviously fun. Like, we like to have fun. We like to travel. We like to have experiences. And I want to do it with people who, I think what's been important to me since I moved to the Bay, since meeting you guys and anytime after that, I've been looking for people who will be okay with who I am wholeheartedly, like the acceptance of me as a queer person, of color, all my identities. And it's okay if that's not you. You don't have to be that. Like, you don't have to be a Black gay man. I have lots of friends who are not Black gay men, but you have to accept and appreciate all the parts of me, because I'm going to do that for you. Whether you're a white, straight person, I want you to also accept, and not only accept, but appreciate who I am, how I act because of who I am. And if you can do that, then
Yeah, I think this dynamic, at least between the three of us, works. Like, I know, we have extended friend group for sure, but like even when we hang out, we're into different things, and so we can kind of support each other through that. And as I'm a very protective person, like, of my people, so I get very like, okay, what's going on? Like, is this person gonna be okay? Like, who's going to this thing or whatever? And
you can say it. You're my bodyguard.
we ain't using that term no more. we are not using this term no more.
I'm damn Miley messed it up. Well, that's not the Miley song. That's the
whatever. No, but like, I feel like there's overlap in the things that we like, but there's also like overlap that doesn't include all three of us. And so what I mean by that, like, if there's a party happening later, like we go out, whatever, and there's something else going on, I might take my ass home, but y'all might go together, and I'm okay with that. I know that y'all have each other. You're not gonna, be by yourselves, or like have to worry about, something going on or whatever. And then there's times when one of y'all might not want to go, but I might be up for something that night. I'm like, okay, like, I will exert myself and push myself to go to something. And I think sometimes, because there is that overlap, it doesn't include all three of us every single time, that we can kind of mix and match and do our own things and still get support from one of the others. And I think that goes for not even just like the three of us, but it also goes for Marissa. It also goes for Tony and Chris. Like, you're talking about, you guys, went to a concert like a week or two ago, and those kind of things. Like, there's enough interest in different things, whether it's a comedy show, whether it's a concert, whether it's a daytime party, whether it's a nighttime party, whether it's an after party, whether it's a trip. And I think that is helpful with maintaining connections, but also not putting so much pressure on one person to be the be-all friend that has to do everything with this person or make sure that they're okay.
Yeah, we have a good dynamic in that way as well. As like, we're all fairly independent. So like, it's not an issue if, you need to go off and do something on your own, or if we need to separate or have your time or whatever. It's never an issue. We always come back together. We coordinate. Maybe you're going to something and then you'll meet us later. It's very easy and effortless to travel with you guys.
Yeah, I think it's because we accept each other for who each other are, right? We have lots in common. That's why we're friends. But the things that we don't have in common, we're also okay with. I think that's where friendships, relationships fall apart, is that one or more people within the group feel that everything has to be the same, or if one person's going to do it, everybody should do it. We'll always take care of each other and make sure everybody's good, but we also trust that everybody's good. Like Jamal said, we allow each other to be our own selves, even though we're in group. Autonomy is important.
we are going to wrap up in a second, but I do have 3 questions for you guys. Is there anything that you want to add before we end?
Is there anything we want to add? Yeah, I do. I will do. You guys are amazing to me. And, I'm excited for you guys to come back down to the Bay and stay with me. So we can go out and have fun. I think it's been really important for me to have you guys in my life, especially the two of you, because you guys have the same travel bug that I have. So, as we said, everybody's got their thing, and like some of us like to travel a lot, and some of us are like a little bit more homebodies, and we let that be within our larger group. And I think the 3 of us for sure have the travel bug, and we like to travel the same way, or very similarly.
Yeah.
It's been fun. So I'll see you guys in DC in a couple months.
Yeah,
Now I can't wait.
I'm excited for that one. All right, so I got 3 questions for you guys as we wrap up. What's some advice that you would give to someone struggling to make friends and find their people in a new city?
I think I would suggest to maybe find some sort of common ground, like try to find someone with other interests as you have. Joining a group, based on that interest is really easy to meet other people as well. And just be authentically yourself. Make them enjoy you as you are. Make them fall in love with you as you are. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say whatever kind of interests you have, look into that, right? For instance, like Jamal was saying, joining a certain group. If you have an interest in a group, you're going to find people who have at least one interest with you. And I in particular have an interest in kickball, but I like sports. I like to be active. And it was a time in my life, I was just gotten over a breakup. And so I joined a kickball league, and this is how it turned out. So, look inward at yourself and what makes you happy, and try to find people within your joy, because there are people who share your joy, and you can share it with them.
Okay, I like that. What advice would you give to your younger self about friendship?
Mm-hmm.
Baby Nizer.
Yeah, to the younger self, I would just say be okay with friendships not working out. You are young. You don't know who you are yet. Definitely don't know who other people are, and you can't gauge that. So understand who you are, and then you'll find the people that are supposed to be in your thing.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I would tell my younger self to not be so closed off. I don't have to constantly have a wall up and block people out. I think I would have benefited from that just to make easier connections with people. I probably shut some people off or just didn't really interact with them because of the wall that I had up. I think I would have my younger self change that.
Mild therapy. I'm out.
Yeah, right. All right, one more question for y'all. What's something about our friendship that more people need in their friendships?
I think the ability to be vulnerable with each other. It really helped our connections grow, and it's a scary thing, being comfortable with someone and showing that vulnerability. It really helps you all grow and understand. And we all have that dynamic, and it has made our friendship very special.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
That's number one, I think, for me too. I think another good attribute that we have in our friendships is that we listen, but we don't judge. And I mean that in a way that we care about each other so much that even when there's something that we may not agree with, or like, we kind of wish we're different for the other person, we do it in a way where it is 100% known. I don't think like we have to hold back with each other. We can tell each other what we really feel about things, but we also do it in a way that doesn't feel like judgment. we do it in a way that it just only feels like this person actually cares about me and wants me to like potentially see things in a different way or think in a different way or challenge me in a more productive way. And yeah, it's super helpful because if we don't have that, then, you know, we're just walking around thinking that we know everything, that everything that we're, you know, every decision we make is correct. And sometimes we need really trusting people to, you know, in a respectful way. And you can't get that from everyone. It's got to be from people who you can be vulnerable with and people who, you know, for a fact, only have your best interest in mind.
Yeah. I'm going to throw one more thing in on that because I think there's also something to be said about like everybody doesn't need to be the same. I feel like that there is a lot of time when you get into groups of people, there's groupthink that's going on. So everybody has the same opinion about the same thing. And that what you're talking about, being able to have somebody challenge you, be able to grow. You don't have to be a carbon copy of the next person in order to maintain a friendship. Like you guys can challenge each other and not risk a friendship over a disagreement, seeing things differently. You can challenge each other, but also be able to support each other at the same time. That's not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think that's it. We did it.
And we did it.
God. Yeah. It wasn't that bad, right? And there you have it. I'm beyond grateful for Nizer and Jamal, not just for joining this episode, but for also being a part of my life. And just for anybody that's listening out there, if you are struggling to find your people, I hope this episode reminds you that they are out there. It might take some time, but when you find them, trust me, it does make a world of difference. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe because we're just getting started. Follow the podcast on social media, share this with a friend, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay Black, stay queer, and if you're neither, always stay unapologetic. Bye.